Welcome back to Everlasting Summer, Part 12. We are in the process of looking for Flower in the library, I think it was. So, yeah. The sound of a trapdoor groaning on its hinges reached me in a moment. "Hey, you need some help?" I inquired loudly. "I'll deal with it," Xenia barked out at me. "She seems to be in the basement, so I'll have to wait a little." "What?" "Okie dokie. Who's she?" A few minutes passed, but Xenia still hasn't returned. I was starting to get worried as the door suddenly has flung open and Elisa came into the library. Oh. She looks surprised too, seeing me here. "What are you doing here?" Am I not allowed to be here?" I said rudely to her. Elisa was clearly overwhelmed a bit. Why do I care?" She snorted off and headed to Xenia's table. "And why are you here then?" Elisa measured me with her eyes carefully, and almost opened her mouth to say something, but then seemed to change her mind and turned away, hiding her hands behind her back. "Returning a book?" I blurted the first thing from the top of my head. "It's none of your business," she replied with a tint of hesitation. "What book is it?" Elisa was silent. "Well, come on, let me see it." "I wonder what does Miss High Voltage Keep Away reads." "It's none of your business." Her voice was even less confident. Okay, I don't insist on anything. In fact, I was quite interested to find out what Elisa was reading. Moreover, I was quite amused to see a book in her hands. TV, movies, or a computer, if it would be available here. All these things seemed to be much more appropriate entertainment for a girl like her. But she had a book instead. We'll just not try to snatch the book. That's rude. Curiosity killed the cat. Anyway, it's Elisa, and that means it could quickly turn into a total mess. Plus, I still have some ingredients to collect. Besides, once she leaves, you could just go look at it anyways. Well, I'll come later. Oh, because Xenia has to be here. Whatever. Elisa left the library quickly without looking at me. It got me thinking what this book could be about if she was so ashamed about it. Ashamed Elisa is something out of the ordinary by itself. But Elisa ashamed about a book. Well, what's the point in guessing now? There's no way to find anything out. Finally, a deep groan of Xenia rang out, reaching each and every corner of the library. "Grab it!" I passed by the bookshelves, and behind the perspiring librarian, sitting near the trapdoor, led into the basement, and a small sack next to her. Well, they might have some sort of storehouse down there. Makes sense. Thanks. I took the sack and got out of the library. Thank goodness it wasn't too heavy, so I've carried it down to Olga's cabin without too much effort. I guess we have to go to the clubhouse next. That's the last thing, and I don't remember what's at the clubhouse. It felt like I've gone through more things today than all previous days combined. Thus, coming closer to the clubhouse, I've even forgotten to think about how awkward it must be to look for sugar there. What are they creating? Shirk with electronic were building something enthusiastically. They were so busy they didn't even notice me. I looked closely. It was some kind of robot, or at least a body of it. More so, this robot was female and had ears. I didn't want to make up theories about purposes of such a device for luminaries of Camp Cybernetics. Even though the design looked practically workable, I had my doubts about this robot to ever conquer Earth, or at least be able to do anything on its own. But they seemed to be enjoying the process more than the end result itself. And it's something we shared, even though I didn't want to admit it. On the other hand, they weren't afraid of possible failure, criticism, or jokes. They were working towards their goal without paying attention to others, who could call it unrealistic or even absurd. Oh, it looks like I'm truly comparing them to some luminaries of sciences. Hey guys. I greeted them uncertainly. "Oh, hey! Oh, Semyon, come in. We're always glad to see you." I actually was in already. You know, Sorry for what happened yesterday. I barely remember anything, but, well, never mind, it's okay. And what led you to the humble abode of ours? Electronic looked at me slyly. Sometimes I felt like he makes such a face when he surely knows something about the other person, something he can use in a right moment. Sugar. I need sugar. An image from an ancient video game suddenly came into my mind, where some kind of unit like a builder or something cried out loud from all its 5-pixel stature. Gold! We need more gold! We got it, said Electronic calmly. Why would you want it? I felt that I shouldn't explain to Shurik that they want to bake a cake for him. I shouldn't spoil a surprise. I don't know. Olga told me to get some. Okay, hang on. Electronic disappeared behind the door into the next room. And why do you have sugar here? Why not in the canteen? When a food truck came last time, it was the last thing to unload. And given that our building is the closest one to the entrance, they decided to leave it here to save some effort. It's reasonable, isn't it? The doors open, revealing Electronic hauling a huge bag behind him. I really didn't know what will be the size of the cake, but that was obviously too much sugar. Well, thanks, but I don't need it all. But where could we place it? Electronic gave me a surprised look. We don't have a place for it. You asked for sugar, so take it. Seems that the previous smile of his wasn't there without a reason. Maybe you'll help me then? It's not that far to carry. We are busy. He pointed his hand at the robot. I gazed at Shurik. He owed me in the end. He halted and then looked away in shame. I sighed, took the bag, and headed to the door. Thanks anyway, said I, parting, exerting myself. But I didn't manage it too far. Just after a mere 20 meters, I had to put the bag down to have a rest. I had no idea how much it weighed, but it felt like more than 20 kilos. On the one hand, it was just 200 meters to the canteen. On the other hand, even such a distance with this payload on my shoulder, or eventually in my hands, or on my legs, or under my arm, or even on my head, looked impossible for me to cover. And as I've set myself to move in minor sprints, with prolonged pauses between them, so I could get there by night at least, I heard a voice behind me. Don't sprint. Maybe I could help you. I saw Lena in front of me. I don't think you can. It was one of those moments when I painfully felt my dramatic lack of good shape. I can bring a handcart. A handcart? Why haven't I thought about it myself? 'Cause you're an idiot. Yes, that would be great. Wait here, I'll be right back. Whoa. She smiled and ran into the direction of the square. And what could I do without her? It's good that Lena isn't always that shy and can take the initiative sometimes. Ooh, sounds like my Lena route's developing. I started to think. She seemed quite unusual now. With no trace of shyness on her face and actually the complete opposite. Smile and confidence. The offer of help wasn't something extraordinary by itself, but getting it from Lena? A few minutes later, she came back with a smallish handcart. Put a bag down on it. Thanks. Don't mention it. She blushed and looked down. Oh, Lena, we all know, is back. So, I'll go then. Yes, see you. And thank you again, I shouted after her. Sometimes I felt like there are two different persons living inside of Lena. But the second one, confident, happy, and sometimes even bold, appears just when she talks to me. Oh. Or am I making it up again? I thought that it would be better if I get all the ingredients at once, so I headed to Olga's cabin with the handcart. Finally, it seems that everything was collected. I got the handcart with sugar outside, put the sack with flour on it, followed by 2 baskets of strawberries that fitted somehow in between. And the beer was hidden under her shirt just in case. The day was coming to its end, so I had to hurry as cake itself needed some time to be baked. Of course, I'd rather enjoy lying down, closing my eyes, and getting a decent sleep, but I just couldn't let Olga down. Indeed, after all the troubles, I even felt my personal responsibility for the success of this event. Coming back to the square, I stopped for a moment to take a breath. It wasn't the cart that was heavy. It ran smoothly without any noticeable efforts required. Just any physical load caused pain to me now. I've got to remember to always have a drink with me when I start recording these. Both physical and morale one. Thought I was done with that card. I sat down on the bench and closed my eyes for a moment. What's that? I wasn't really giving a damn on who it is. Probably just a fellow pioneer girl who got interested in an unfamiliar companion in distress. What are you talking about? I've asked her tiredly. She didn't reply. That's the ingredients for a cake. Do you like cakes? I don't know. What, you've never tried any cakes? I don't know. Obviously, this girl couldn't get what I was talking about, but it didn't surprise me at that moment. I really wasn't interested in that conversation. I was so tired that I had zero intention to classify all outer distractions and tag them either as conventional or uncommon. I see. Come down to the canteen later and take a bite. Really? Really? And what are they made of? What? I asked with indifference. These. Cakes. Well, some flour, some sugar, various fillings. Now that's a queer question. Doesn't she know what cakes are made of? And you have it all here? Yeah, sort of. And sugar? And sugar. Could you lend me a little? What for? I thought it was over the top. A sudden gust of wind made me grab the cart instinctively and open my eyes. However, nobody was here. Am I daydreaming? I noticed, though, that the sugar sack was untied and a small heap of it had poured out. It could be that she was scared by the wind and ran away. She could be more shy and frail than Lena. Having the sack fixed, I got up from the bench and continued my challenging strawberry way. There wasn't a single person near the canteen. No wonder, the dinner was still an hour away. An hour to bake a cake. Holy shit, guy. I brought the handcart to the rear exit and handed the foodstuffs to the camp cook. She must have been told already what to do with them, as she gave me such an unpleasant look. Not sure how long it takes to bake a cake, but she had to hurry, it seems. I just wanted to relax during the remaining time up to the dinner. In short, I was so tired that I sat on the footsteps and just waiting. And fell asleep. My eyes have closed themselves. I guess I got so tired throughout the day that I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice how someone came and patted me on my shoulder. Hi! Mika was standing before me. Yeah? I didn't need a mirror to imagine the expression of skepticism and annoyance on my face. Oh, excuse me, I must have interrupted you. No problem, I was just sitting here. Ah, alright then. Miku shined with a smile. I was just coming to dinner. I thought that it was time already, and it appeared to me that it's too early. But I've decided to check, just in case. Maybe it's not me who's mistaken, but the clock is. Well, not the clock. Clocks can't be mistaken, it's just that I've misread it. She seemed to be ultimately confused now, and thus went silent. Still about half an hour before the dinner. Oh, that's great. Then I'll sit here and wait with you if you don't mind. Frankly speaking, I would mind. You know, I have some matters to attend to. I stood up quickly and left without saying goodbye and ignoring Miku as I always did, because you're a dick, while she was screaming something after me. A minute later, I got to the square and sat on the bench with a firm intention to find a quiet, safe place here to wait for dinner. I think it is the first time since the last 4.5 days when I felt myself like that. When I feel myself like that? What? I wasn't just irritated because of some insignificant details, but indeed, I was really angry. I've completely stopped to care where I am and why I am here. I didn't care about how to get out either. What was driving me mad is that I always had to carry out some stupid tasks given by our camp leader, and it's always me who gets into stupid situations and sometimes even ends up being a clown. If all of this is some alien tricks or a plot of the universal mind, they better consult with their psychiatrist. I gritted my teeth and clenched my fists. And most annoying thing is that everything that happens seems to happen by itself somehow. I'd be happy to not carry bags of sugar weighing a good pound. Ooh, it weighs a pound. But I had no choice at all. I mean, any other option would lead to much worse consequences than a muscle strain or a hurt pride. Who are you angry with? Liana was standing in front of me and smiled slyly. Nobody, really. I've answered absently. But my fist gave me away. Just like that. Okay, it's up to you. You better tell me why did you run away from the camp for the whole day with some kind of bags? Went around, not away. I had to, I replied reluctantly. I guess it was food. Maybe it was. Liana was about to say something, but at that moment the bell sound came, which is a horn, calling the pioneers for the dinner. I sighed in relief and quickly headed to the canteen, leaving Liana behind. Semyon, thank you very much. For what? Seriously, you have the mind of a fucking goldfish. The camp leader gave me a friendly smile. For the cake, of course. Ah, sure. It was at that exact moment I've understood the true meaning of an idiom. Keep your thanks to feed your cat. What? I've never even heard that. You haven't told anybody. This ought to be a surprise. Yeah? That's my boy. That's my boy. And off you go to the dinner. Olga waved her hand, pointing at the canteen. I stepped over the doorway slowly and started to look for a free place. Turned out there were plenty today, so I got a chance to eat all alone. That's what they want you to think. There was a fish with mashed potatoes for dinner. What a misfortune once again. I'll end up half hungry. And we didn't have fish for lunch. Didn't we have fish for lunch? Is it a fish-only day today? And potatoes. Don't fall asleep. Having pushed a plate with fried sea dweller away, I laid my head on my hands and closed my eyes. But soon somebody came to my table. Hey, are you alright? I'm fine, I replied without changing my position. Just tired? Yeah, a little. That's bad. Slavia said it seriously. Of course. You remember that we were going to the hike after dinner, don't you? Haven't you prepared everything? Have you prepared for everything? I didn't even remember that. What? Where? I opened my eyes and lifted my head up instantly. Lena was standing by Slavia. The hike? She was surprised. Didn't you know? No. I put my head down on the table and covered it with my hands. If only I could sink into the ground right away. The girls remained silent. I stayed alone with my thoughts for some time, and that was fine to me. Maybe I could sit that way until the end of dinner time, but a strong voice of Olga was heard from the opposite part of the canteen. Guys, to celebrate a miracle rescue of our friend and comrade, Shurik, we baked this cake for you all. I lifted my head idly and looked towards the camp leader, but couldn't see anything behind the pioneers' backs. Just a second. And nothing about me. Nothing about me rescuing Shurik or gathering ingredients for the cake. As if that's how it ought to be. Well, it would be wrong to expect anything else from our camp leader. Let's go. Or we won't get our share. Slavia smiled. Let's go. Lena agreed. Yeah, sure. I got up with reluctance and tagged behind the girls. As we approached the pioneer crowd, Olga was just putting the cake on the table center. And now? Oh no. The camp leader wasn't able to finish as Ilyana rushed from the pioneer crowd and dived into the cake. She managed to nibble at it a few times before she was pulled away. She was kicking and screaming. What's going on in the background there? It doesn't necessarily look like being pulled. I stared blankly from the outside at all of this drama, smiling at Lena that picked up some cream with her finger, all the furious pioneers around. I felt completely out of this place. I thought that if I'll close my eyes now and open them again, here I am, back in the safety of my apartment in front of a computer. I blinked, but nothing's changed. Only the noise and the clutter became sharper. Ilyana, that's the limit. I just... Well, in fact, behaving like this is a bit over the top, even for her. Sherrick has broken in the conversation, or the court-martial. Please, Olga, hence the cake is celebrating me. It's no big deal. He hesitated. It doesn't matter. The camp leader turned to Ilyana. And you. Today I'm going to prosecute you to the fullest extent, so you'll behave next time. Whatever. She snorted and turned back. You won't be going for a hike with us tonight. As if I wanted to. I was more than willing to switch places with Ilyana and skip the hike instead of her, but who knew? If I would have guessed beforehand, I'd be the first one to go berserk and smash down that damn cake. After a couple of minutes of confusion, the pioneers started to dismiss. You have to get ready too. There'll be a lineup at the square in half an hour. I didn't even get any cake. I looked straight into the eyes of the camp leader, trying to express my attitude in a nonverbal way, but it seemed that I failed. Don't be late. Ilyana was sitting at the table when I've approached her on my way to the exit. So why did you do it? She looked very upset. But she had a right to be so. I wanted to, Ilyana replied abruptly. So you're happy now? Of course I am. And you, have a good luck hiking. She smiled mischievously, springed up and rushed out of the canteen. Well, a bit of luck won't hurt. Walk and you shall reach was exactly this proverb that kept twirling in my head all the way down the camp leader's cabin. Somehow, I just couldn't manage to oppose, to pretend that I'm sick, or to just skip it without a reason. The events of this day taught me submission. And sometimes, whatever was happening made no sense to me. As I walked in, I've taken a thought. Well, in fact, how should I get ready? Clothes? I only have an overcoat and a pair of jeans. Anyway, I forgot to ask whether it's going to be an overnight hike or not. Couldn't think of anything better, so I grabbed the sweater that I had on me when I arrived in the camp. The night might be fairly chilly, and shuffled off to the square slowly. All the camp was there already. All the camp was already there, although it was about 10 minutes up to the time designated by Olga. I snugged near the edge and waited patiently. The night was falling. If we were to be looked at from the outside, what a fairly comical picture it would be. A crowd of pioneers, lined up out of sheer habit, was like waiting for a silent command from a bronze Genda. And all this happening in the scarlet rays of sunset. And there he is, waving his hand and screaming attack, as roaring soldiers with red necklaces converge into the battle against some ghost enemy. He's waving his hand? To me it looks like he's just facepalming. But Olga had shown up and started to talk instead of Genda. It seems everybody is here. Great. I was so tired today that I couldn't even think about anything, so I ended up just listening to the camp leader. Now, today we'll go hiking. It is essential for every pioneer to be able to come and rescue his comrade, to offer a helping hand in the hour of need, just saving him in the hopeless situation. Him. We'll have to learn to do all of these things together. A whisper that ran through the pioneer crowd suggested that most probably this true epic expedition would end on a clearing in the forest several hundred feet away from the square. Somehow I thought so too. We'll walk in pairs. So, if you haven't chosen a partner for yourself yet, it's the right time to do so. The pioneers quickly caught the idea and started to match pairs. It looked like I was the only one without a pair. Slavia was enthusiastically discussing something with Olga. Lena was with Miku. Electronic, of course, with Sherrick. Well, it might not be a bad idea to go alone after all. Semyon, a voice of the camp leader, pulled me out of my thoughts. I came up to her with reluctance. I see that you haven't found a pair. Seems like it. Then you'll join Xenia. She is alone too. I was struck with that special kind of despair that only a true loner can experience. So, it appears that I'm the same castaway as the Yeti librarian that I won't risk spending a couple hours with, even if I was paid for it. Although, we seem to be in the same boat now. I slowly approached Xenia. Well, I guess we'll be going together. She looked up at me. Don't you even think that I'm glad? Said Xenia seriously. Why on earth should you feel glad? I asked naively. Never mind. It would be much better if you just shut up. It could get better than this. It couldn't get better than this? I can't. Now I need to double check, because my mind. It couldn't get any better. It couldn't get better than this. She turned her back on me and followed the other pioneers. I haven't seen any hidden reason to walk in pairs. Anyway, we were walking on the trodden forest trails, and it was quite difficult to get lost here, even if I'd wanted to. Moreover, while we were already hiking for half an hour, we weren't rushing into the depths of the forest, trying to face all the dangers that could test our courage and harden our pioneer spirits, but instead we were just walking around in circles. However, if we'll take into account that Olga was our chief, this hike could be compared to a hobbit's march from Shire to Mordor. Just as Xenia insisted, I was following her at a distance in silence. The librarian seemed to be perfectly okay with it. Hey, don't you know when we'll reach our destination? Our what? That place where we'll settle down and set up a camp. The whole idea of this hike is not setting up a camp, but hiking itself. You don't get it. Yeah, it seemed that I didn't understand a thing about hikes. I guess you're right, but still. I don't know. She replied sharply and hastened her pace. Was this created by like a 16-year-old? That was my phrase when I was 16. I don't know. I caught up with her and asked, Listen, why are you always so... I was about to say mean, but stopped short. I haven't done anything bad to you, and I'm not going to. She glared at me in surprise. Always so... what? Well, unsociable, kind of. Or is it something about me? Oh, cut that stupidity already. As you wish. I decided not to start a conversation with her until the end of the hike. At last, Olga decided to end this Sisyphean toil. It's time for a halt. The place chosen turned out to be quite a large glade with a few tree trunks laid in a half circle to make an improvised arbor with burned ground and remains of a campfire in the middle. Obviously, such hikes is a tradition of this camp. I was sent to gather firewood together with other boys. It didn't take a lot of time because there were a lot of branches and trunks of various sizes around. In the end, Olga lit up the fire using some old newspapers. I was eager to know what was written on them, but couldn't discern anything but Soviet symbolics. Pioneers took their places on the trunks and started to talk about their things. Seems that the final goal of this event was achieved. The only things missing were a pot of fish soup, aluminum cups with vodka, and a guitar. But I wouldn't be surprised if all of this would appear here somehow. What are you thinking about? Slavia sat next to me. Oh, nothing special. Just enjoying the hike, I answered sarcastically. You don't look too happy. Well, I'm not ready rejoice and jumping. I don't understand how that... Whatever. Sorry about that. Okay, I won't disturb you. She was sitting with me for a while, but after realizing that I wasn't in the mood of talking, left me to enjoy my introspection all alone. And all I wished for was to lie down in bed and fall asleep as soon as possible, but I was being filled with smoke and useless chatter of pioneers around me instead. They were cheering and laughing and enjoying this warm summer evening in general. In the far side of the glade, I noticed Lena, who was arguing with Elisa intensively, and Lena seemed like complete opposites to me. Slavia has left somewhere after our conversation, it seems. Electronic and Shirk were trying to prove something to Olga furiously. Looks like I'm the only one who doesn't belong to this place. Trying to find out about Elisa and I'm gonna try to find out about Elisa and Lena arguing. Only Lena and Elisa stood out from all this splendor. But we're gonna try and find this out in the next episode. Hope you guys are enjoying, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.